Off we go. Glad to be back, man. It feels like I know that we went on last night after the game, but it's so great to be back. We are live at our normal spot at 7 p.m. Central Time talking the LSU Tigers, and I'm fired up to do so. We got a lot to get into. Ed Orgeron just talked to the media. He talked to the fans as well in reference to what's going on with the spring practice. We are going to talk a little recruiting. You guys know that I don't talk a little recruiting. I'm going to share some information with you about Coach Darante Jones on the recruiting trail that I've heard. No, I'm not going to use any names, but just to give you a little update, we're going to hear from Coach Ed Orgeron himself. I'm not going to tell you how just yet, but Ed Orgeron's voice is going to be on this podcast tonight as we go on. So do us a favor by hitting the like and share. We will break down what Ed said in the opening segment as well. Ryan Guidry on Facebook Live says, Blake's in the house and we are live. I appreciate that. Stanley Pokey says, hashtag TTM. Y'all don't know about that TTM, though. I'm just going to let you know right now, you don't know about the TTM. James Tyrone says, go Tigers. Blaine Smith says, was listening to Coach O. We will talk about that. We do have some audio from Coach O. Jacob Cole says, so why did you mention Darante Jones being a good recruiter? We'll get into that a little bit tonight. Also, we did not get a chance to talk about the LSU baseball Tigers losing 2 out of 3 to Mississippi State. Can they bounce back? Is tonight's game not happening a good thing for the LSU Tigers? We'll tell you why I think that it is. So we'll get into that as well. We might talk a little basketball to kind of recap, but we did that a lot last night, so we'll definitely do that if you guys want. And as always, hashtag AskBlake, and we'll put that in the comments as well. So you got your questions? Let's see. There we go. If you have your questions, here they go. Just hashtag AskBlake, and we'll get to them. Brandon Hollingsworth, our good friend, he says, my guy, hashtag your lanky lender. Yeah, over there at GMFS. What's up, Brandon? We greatly appreciate you joining, my brother. But before we get started, guys, as always, we want to thank our good partners over at Believe Podcast who do a lot for us, and our good friends over at eBay who sponsors everything that we do with our audio podcast. Our first corporate sponsor up in this biz night, and we will get one. We're going to be announcing one next Monday, this upcoming Monday. So I'm really excited and looking forward to that one as well. But you know what time it is. We always say this. So it's time for our good friends over at GM Varnado & Sons. GM Varnado & Sons has faithfully been serving your Denham Springs and Baton Rouge area for over 62 years. With their highly trained technicians, there's absolutely nothing that they can't do. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, truck repair, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. Give them a call today at 225-664-9992. That's 225-664-9992. And tell them Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by. And our good friends over at your home team, that's 985-467-7355. All you have to do is go to team.kw.com. That's team.kw.com and meet with one of their great real estate agents today. Tell them Blake Ruffino sent you by, and I know they will put you in the house that you've been dreaming about your entire life. Again, that's 985-467-7355, and tell them Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by. Okay, so we did just hear from Coach Ed Orgeron in reference to spring practice. Now, it's interesting because I went on with Jordy Holberg around 3:30 today, and I mentioned to him, I was like, look, we know that the defensive line did great in the first scrimmage. They got 6 sacks. They did a lot of great things. They stopped the run. But here's some key takeaways from what we learned from the scrimmage and from what Ed Orgeron talked about. Now, number one, and I know that I've put a lot of emphasis on this in the offensive scheme, is that LSU wants to get back to running the football a little bit more consistently than they did last season. And quite honestly, you have to do that. I don't want to say the best game that LSU had in 2019, but definitely one of the most complete games that they had in 2019, in my opinion, was that game against Florida when they had 24. At one point, they had 24 passes and 24 runs. Clyde Edwards-Helaire went over 100 yards. Joe Burrow was picking people apart, only had 2 incompletions through 24 passes and absolutely obliterating Florida. And Florida had no idea what was coming out of next. LSU continued to convert first downs. You remember the Jamar Chase along the sideline and the little wheel route, and he would take it for 7. But it was definitely established in that game the passing game was established by the running game, and Jake Peets definitely wants to get back to that as he's going to be running a lot of this RPO stuff. Something that's interesting, and Ed Orgeron, we talked about this last week, and he mentioned it again today. It's about the running back room that's really interesting. I can tell from Ed Orgeron's comments that with T-Bob Hebert and Jacob Hester, I always want to say Jacob Jordy Collada, but it's not Jordy Collada. But either way, I can tell that Ed's a little bit uneasy, if you will, about this running back room. Now, they have a lot of talent, but for whatever reason, he just feels very uneasy, maybe because the guys have been struggling catching the ball out of the backfield. But one big thing that I really like to hear is how good and how big that this team is coming together. And Ed Orgeron talked about that just a minute ago with the media.
At the beginning of practice, John was in a gold shirt, so he couldn't scrimmage. Josh Williams got hurt. We're down to one running back. He had 39 carries. He needed a break. I just said they don't have enough running backs. We had 4 plays left for team run. I said we need to put somebody in there. And the wide receivers, Jontre Kirkland, Corey Moore, Trey Palmer, they all went in there. We ran the toss with them. They did it pretty well. And I stopped the team. I said that was a teachable moment. That's hey, we're on the football field. We got to go. Next man up. You never can tell what time's going to come. But it showed me a lot of unselfishness. I think our team's more together this year. I think our coaching staff is together. We have some very talented quarterbacks. All 4 of them are doing very well right now. On the offensive side, we're doing very well on the offensive line. Our receivers are catching the ball well. We just got to find some running backs. They're hurt right now, so we don't have an identity right there. I know.
And that's Coach Ed Orgeron just talking with the media about, hey, Trey Palmer, Coy Moore, Jontre Kirkland all had to go into running back during the scrimmage. Now, is that little concerning? Yes. And look, you have 2 true freshmen that are going to come in and going to have to vie for some playing time. If John Emery or Ty Davis-Price can't go, they're definitely going to vie for some playing time. Blaine Viator says, Blake, I hope you and everyone fared out okay with today's weather. Blaine, we did. I got to give a shout-out, though, to Relief Windows. They actually just came in and installed all new windows of our house as we're renovating my family's home, our family's old home. We bought it. We're married with a son, so we're renovating and adding on. Daddy's getting a new office, and so I got to give a shout out to Relief Windows. They in the rain, they were out there just trucking. Ryan says, can't wait to hear about DJ Jones recruiting. All right, we'll get to that in just a second. Blaine Smith says, okay, we're not going to talk some. I'll get to that in a minute, Blaine. Tony Weaver, what's up, Tony? He says, hashtag ask Blake. Would you like to see more of a rotation on defense? Would you like to see the 2s and 3s on the offensive line to get minutes in non-conference games? Let's start with the offensive line. Absolutely, when you're up. I mean, look, the simple reason that Miles Brennan had no time really coming into last season was, number one, LSU just never really separated. Now, they separated a lot in 2019. Maybe he should have got some more snaps. But absolutely, if you're dominating a team, and they do that, Tony, I mean, and I know that you know this, they will, and I hate to say it like this, but for example, Austin Deculus goes down, or he's not going to play against Ole Miss. And then they move Adrian McGee out to right tackle. Ed Ingram starts at left guard, like in 2019. So, yeah, I definitely want to see that happening, especially when you're blowing teams out. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to do that against UCLA, but you definitely are going to be able to do that against McNeese. Like, you're absolutely going to blow them out. Like, I don't care, 5-5, it don't matter. They're going to blow McNeese State out. I've watched McNeese State play a couple of times, and I hate it's against Ed Orgeron's son. But, yeah, on the defensive side, Tony, I don't know about that. Like, I'm kind of wanting to see these younger guys get more reps, like an Elias Ricks, Jay Ward, Cordell Flott, and you have 2 freshmen or a couple of freshmen that could vie or really just go in for 2 starters at the safety position. You have Navantique Strong that's looking like he's going to be a starter on the defense. So with that being said, maybe not as much as you would like to see on the offense, especially along the offensive line where you have a lot of experienced guys. I could see them doing that for sure. Blaine says, sounds a little concerned about tight end. Yeah, and Stanley Polkey brought up a good comment about the using the last spot for a tight end. I mean, yeah, you can. I mean, I do think that there's some options that you could put there. And look, Cole Taylor, quite honestly, I thought from a running game standpoint did head and shoulders better than Eric Gilbert did last season. Yeah, maybe. I mean, but there's got to be one out there. Tight end's a position that's few and far between. A lot of those guys aren't in the portal. So how do they go get somebody? I don't know if that's a very big quantity. I just don't know. I think that they'd still go after a safety or a corner or a linebacker. Ed talked about that today. He said, we're looking for more linebackers. They might take another linebacker with that last spot, which means that those young guys either aren't developing quick enough, like Sampa and Josh White, which is kind of I hate to see that, but why would he want to go get another linebacker unless he wants a linebacker that can come in and play right now? Jacob Cole says, #ask Blake, what's good with our running back room? Only one running back practicing. Did I misunderstand that? No, you didn't misunderstand that. Only one running back really participated in the spring scrimmage. John Emery's had non-contact jersey on all spring, just recovering from that injury that he sustained later last season. I believe it was the shoulder. But, there was something that Ed Orgeron kind of let slip out. He said that Trey Palmer took one 80 yards to the house on a toss sweep and outrun, and it's not like they were just letting up on him. So there are some things in spring that you could wrinkle with and see if it works. You get the ball in Trey Palmer's hands, that's trouble, y'all. The problem has been is that he can't catch it. I love the kid to death. I mean, hell, my cousin coached him. Was the head coach at Kentwood when he was a starting shortstop as a freshman. The kid is a pure athlete. He's got to get the ball in his hands. And when he does, I remember breaking down that Alabama game last season. They threw a ball in the flat to him, and he ran right up the sidelines, was literally burnt everybody on Alabama's defense, got about 12, 13 yards. If you can get the kid in some space and get him the ball, he can be deadly. Now, in reference to pass protections, I don't know if he's ever going to do that, nor should he. But if you need a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield, that could be something that they tinker with. Yes, I see a lot of the comments. Yes, we're going to get to Darante Jones, what I heard about him. Just hang tight. Carl Dunn says, look at Blake getting some sound from Coach O. Yeah, we got a little sound. We got a little something, bro. You heard me. Jordan Simpson says, didn't we hear the same stuff last year? We all know what happened. 5-5, I believe. Jordan, I get what you're saying, but Ed Orgeron also said that in 2019. He also said that in 2018. He also said that in 2017. One of those years he won a national championship, and the year before that he won 10 games. I mean, and really should have won 11. I don't even want to talk about that Texas A&M game in 2018, but I'm not going to take Ed Orgeron's comments 1 year out of all years that he said stuff like this, and Ed has been more accurate than not. I mean, we're taking that this defense he said that the defense was going to be better in 2020 than all of it was in 2019, and that obviously wasn't the case. But what are the things that he has hit on? Patrick Queen is a big one, that he said Patrick Queen's going to be an NFL guy if he continues to play the way that he's playing. He was a first-round pick. He said that Clyde Edwards-Helaire looks phenomenal. I mean, look, Ed Orgeron, a lot of times when he says something, you can take it to the bank. I am not going to Rudy poo on Ed about some things he says, because 9 times out of 10, he's right. Now, maybe he's seeing something in practice that just doesn't translate to the field. So when Ed tells you something, you could damn near take it to the bank. Tony says, I'm not sweating the running backs. We have 2 running backs coming in. You kind of should, though, a little bit. I mean, you have 2 juniors, 2 highly rated juniors. One guy was a 5-star, the number 2 running back coming out in his class, and they're saying, hey, man, he's struggling right now. I mean, I get that running back is a position where a lot of guys can come in as freshmen and play a lot sooner. We'll tell that to Max Johnson when he thinks his backside and is going to be defended, and a guy you're going to pick up that blitz, and a freshman not understanding the offense and the offensive scheme doesn't pick up that blitz. You got 2 juniors in there and a redshirted sophomore that should be able to step up and let it go. Now, Josh Williams was a guy that came on, we all remember, against Ole Miss and showed a lot of good stuff, a walk-on of all things, showing that, look, just because I'm a walk-on don't mean 2 Rudy Poos. I can come out here and play. Those 2 guys got to get it going. Like, period, point blank. Ed's not going to tell – and see, we all take the positives from Ed, and we never talk about I don't want to say negatives, but when he kind of calls his players out. Look, he's calling them out right now. This is back-to-back weeks where Ed Orgeron has legitimately called out his running back room saying, you better. I meant to say backside. I saw somebody just said that. I meant his backside. I mean, look, if you're not protecting his backside, his blind side is what I was trying to say. Sometimes I get so excited, I just start spitting stuff off. I'm not going to bring that up there. But either way, I have a lot. If Ed has concern with him and that was a room that we thought was going to be very talented, then you better start worrying a little bit. Like, they better start picking it up. Like, I'm not trying to Rudy Poo on TDP or John Emery, but when you're having Trey Palmer having to go in there and take the ball 80 yards, all right now. Mr. Starkey, what's up, my man? He says on Facebook Live, he says, where did the Darante Jones recruiting commit originate from? Okay, nobody committed. I maybe should have, but I never said anybody. I never said that anybody committed. Never said anybody committed. I just said, oh, Darante Jones. If you didn't see it, I put it on Twitter and Facebook. I said something to the effect of, oh, so Darante Jones, the new defensive coordinator for LSU, oh, he can recruit too. Let me just tell you this very, very quick story about this Darante Jones stuff. I talked with, I would say, a handful of recruits that are LSU targets over the last week. One of the targets, who's like everybody in the country wants him, he quite simply told me, I'm not going to put his name on record. I didn't even have to ask him that because I'm not going to put his name on the record. But he said since Darante Jones has taken the job at LSU, the bond between him and Darante Jones has just been magical. He's told him some things that he likes in the kid's game and some things that are some weaknesses, and that if he comes to LSU, what they're going to help him work on. This player seemed to, when I asked him about LSU, that Darante Jones continued to come out of his mouth. Hey, well, Coach Jones, I talked to Coach Jones. Hey, I talked to Coach Jones. Yeah, Coach Jones this, Coach Jones that. Coach Jones coaches the safeties. That's a position that I play. Coach Jones talked about the defensive line and the scheme that he wants, and that Coach Ed Orgeron's going to be there, and that some things that they're going to call Andre Carter, Blake Baker's with the linebackers. So there's a lot of different things that some of these recruits are saying. Again, every time I ask, it's generating around Darante Jones. So I never said that Darante Jones had a commit or LSU had a commit or anything like that. What I did say was that I'm hearing a lot of good things from recruits about Darante Jones and the connection that he's making with players. If he's doing that with the recruits, here's what I want to make this very clear about too. If he's doing that with the recruits, he's doing that with the players that are already at LSU. We kind of heard that a little bit with Derek Stingley Jr. and when Derek Stingley Sr. talked about it on with Jordy Collada. But if he's doing that with the recruits, he's doing that with players. And Ed Orgeron talked about that just a minute ago when he said that our team and our coaching staff is more unified than it was last season. And I believe him. I wholeheartedly believe every comment that he's saying there. So I'm not going to poo-poo on that one. Colin Timodo says, bruh, 7 o'clock just sneaks up on me the past few nights. Yeah, where you been, dog? Jordan says, just wish we would buy the kids Alabama buys. I'm not getting into that one. Look, hold on. I will get into this a little bit. If you think LSU is not doing the same exact shit that Alabama's doing, you're crazy. Jordan, I know you're not saying that. But if you think that LSU is not out here doing things that we all know Alabama's doing, when Alabama recruits are all getting the same car, the same color from the same dealership on National Signing Day, come on. If you think LSU's not doing it, you're crazy. I mean, LSU just got popped with and put sanctions on themselves for a bowl ban from last season because of what happened to Our Lady of the Lake. Come on. Stan Polkey, what's up, brother? He says Palmer would be amazing as a third down back. I like that. Again, if you can get Trey Palmer the ball and you can get the ball in his hands, he is deadly. Guys, you remember the kickoff return against South Carolina. He's had some injuries. Now, DJ Mangus is doing the 10,000 catch thing that they did in 2019 with Joe Brady. They brought that back. He needs to be on that jug machine. If he can come out of the backfield and catch some passes and get you crucial first downs, that kid is electric with the ball in his hands. That's all you need to do. The only thing that he's not going to be able to do is if you want him to chip a tight end or chip an end or pick up a blitz, that's when things start getting a little messy. We remember, not too long ago, it was the Joe Burrow day, 317, and when Clyde Edwards-Helaire picked up that middle inside linebacker blitz against Texas, Joe Burrow steps up in the pocket, hits Justin Jefferson across the middle, he takes it to the house, and it's a ball game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire did a lot of things that we take for granted now. A lot of things that we take for granted now. One other thing from Coach Ed Orgeron that I want to just address or let you guys listen to is this.
Yeah. Both of those on his first day. Deion Smith, I think he's going to be an excellent receiver, but Deion's coming off an injury. He's not full speed right now. Hadn't practiced yet, but I think those guys are going to make a difference. A difference in this team as far as execution and practice-wise opposed to last year. Now, that doesn't mean nothing. I'm not saying that they're better or nothing like that. But I just say that we're practicing better with more energy.
And that's the point. I mean, I don't think people fully understand what Ed Orgeron's saying there when he says, look, guys have more energy. And he's kind of defending himself because he knew what happened last season, that people ripped him apart. But he's saying that guys have more energy. They want to go out there and they want to compete. Deion Smith is a little banged up, the talented wide receiver out of Mississippi. So some of those guys, even the guy, and that kind of tells you a little bit too. I wanted you to hear that because Deion Smith being out tells you a little something. What does that really mean? That means that Jeray Jenkins and Coy Moore are 1 and 2, and that Coy Moore and Trey Palmer are kind of battling it out for that third spot as we all anticipated, and they're going to running back to take snaps. Those guys are hungry and wanting to go after and be on the field. It's all that means. Stephen Miller says, what's good? What's happening, Stephen? Blake Doucette says, hashtag Ask Blake. So how is Mike Jones doing? Oh, Mike Jones. Mike Jones isn't technically with the team. He's in Baton Rouge. He's working out. He will not participate this spring. He can't come into the summer, but he will be here this summer. So looking good. Wade says Mason Smith will work his way up and start. Bet. Well, that's what Ed Orgeron talked about. He said that, look, Mason Smith's working hard. That guy's going to work himself into the rotation. But I want to be careful here. I know a lot of people have come out and said, look, Sage Ryan's going to be a day one starter. Mason Smith's going to be a day one starter. Mason Smith, is he going to beat out Jacoby and Guillory? Is he going to beat out Jaquelin Roy? I mean, you have two seniors in Neil Farrell and Glenn Logan that have a lot of experience. I'm not going to say that he's not going to be a day one starter. I just think it's a little unrealistic for you to say a defensive lineman in the SEC with no experience against UCLA, against Chip Kelly, and that explosive motion-typed offense, I don't know if you can sit here and say that he's going to be a starter day one. Can he be a starter as the season goes on? Most definitely. We saw that from Jaquelin Roy. But he's definitely going to be in the rotation. And Ed talked about this too, that they put in the cheetah package that they had in 19 and 20. They're going to continue to rotate guys in and out as they see fit. Stephen Miller says, Cressy got me locked down at Traction Friday through Monday, baby. Okay. Acting like the man can umpire. Don't act like Stephen. I mean, look. My man is a pretty good umpire. Kenny on Facebook Live says, a couple of D-backs live in my complex. They like Coach Jones. Okay. See what I'm saying? Kenny, tell him Blake Ruffino said what's up. I'm just gonna let this comment sit here for just a second and let this one simmer. Look, Darante Jones is making a little headway out on the recruiting trail. Man, you gotta love that, though. You gotta love that. Logan on Facebook Live. What's up, Logan? He says the timing of that ban was impeachable, I might add. Impeccable, not impeachable. I thought I saw an H. Impeccable. It was impeccable, but come on. Stephen Miller, you going back from YouTube to Facebook to YouTube to Facebook. I love it, brother. Everybody needs to go subscribe to our YouTube channel. the hashtag catching issue is still haunting Palmer, per sources. Yeah, I mean, look, he's got to get on the jugs. Regardless, find the kid a position. Find him something to do. Find a way for him to get the ball. But he's got to do it. Peggy Red says, Kayshon Boutte is not number one wide receiver, question mark? Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. Why? I mean, I didn't say that. Angela says, over my head, but fun show. Yeah, I did say impeachable, Blaine. I meant impeccable. See, I be reading these comments too fast. See, that's why I need like a co-host or something, somebody from behind the scenes that can help a brother out. Brandon Reese says, hashtag ask Blake, who would you start on defense for LSU next year? Brandon, be more specific. But I guess we can run through all 11, right? If it were today, now I haven't been out there. If it were today, I would say Andre Anthony, Jaquelin Roy, Glenn Logan, Ali Gay that's the 4 on the defensive line. At linebacker, I would start Navantique Strong, Bug Strong. Oh man, I want to say Mike Jones. I think Damone Clark's going to get the first team reps. I think he's going to be the first linebacker out there. So that's 6. Derek Stingley, Elias Ricks. I think that you have to keep. Look, I am the president, CEO of the Jay Ward fan club after how that kid ended the season last year against Arkansas when you knocked the ball loose. And we talked about this. You blocked the punt, the pick 6. I think that Jay Ward. Again, I'm the president, CEO of that young man's fan club. I think. We remember what happened to him against Mississippi State. The kid was, 2.5 weeks coming back from a meniscus tear. Guys, that's a 5 to 6 week injury. That kid was literally toughing it out. The kid shows toughness. So those would be the 3. 2 safeties. Look, I'm not trying to harp and beat down on Todd Harris, but it's either kind of put up or shut up on Todd Harris. I think that he would start. I think maybe he should, because he does have more experience than anybody in that safety room. And Derek Davis or Jordan Tolles. Let those 2 guys battle it out. Let those 2 guys battle out. And if they do, let the best man win. Let the best man win out of Tolles or Derek Davis. And quite honestly, if it's a close race, maybe look at him to replace Todd. I hate to say it like that, but it is what it is. I mean, we kind of know what it is with Todd right now. But I do want Todd to have a great season. I'm not saying that. Tony Williams says Goodwin is a beast as well, and Trey Bradford got a little playing time last season, and he will get better. Yeah, and he put on a little weight. If you haven't seen Trey Bradford, he put on a little weight, and he caught the ball somewhat well out of the backfield. He had a lot of drops. I think he had like 5 or 6 drops in 10 attempts. So, yeah, we'll see. Kenny says, Tony, you are correct. Oh, Lord. Oh, yeah. Okay, we just read that comment. Tasha Thibodeau from the Real LSU Nation. What's up, Tasha? Blake Schilling says Jay Ward is about to have a big year. I think that he can. And quite honestly, I don't know if you put Cardell Flott in the slot, do you move a Jay Ward back at safety? You absolutely, positively, 100% have to have Jay Ward in your lineup. There's no questions about that now. None. 0, zilch, not like he's got to be in the lineup unless barring injury. Unless that kid has an absolute just Rudy Poo of a camp, that kid has to be in the lineup. Again, president, CEO. Maybe I might clip this and say that and let him know that I'm the president of his fan club. Peggy says Blaine Smith, he should. Oh, let's see. Wonder if McGlothern will play. I mean, look, there's only a handful of places that these guys can start. We're talking about the back 5 already. You got Derek Stingley Jr., Elias Ricks, Jay Ward, Todd Harris. I mean, and those corner spots are already taken. And he's not – Dwight McGlothern is not going to play in the slot. He's too big. He's not quick enough off the ball. He's a long, lanky corner. he would have to replace like an Elias Ricks or a Derek Stingley. He might get some reps here and there, but if those two guys on the outside and Derek Stingley Jr. and Elias Ricks stay healthy, he's not going to see the field a lot. I hate to say, not this year. That's not to say that he won't, but next year, if those guys, you do realize that the reason Dwight McGlothern and Jay Ward and those guys came in because Derek Stingley and Elias Ricks were out. That's the only reason why those guys were coming in. So, with that being said, if those guys stay healthy, then you're honestly talking about the best. I would say arguably, and I think that it's not even really arguable, but I know what happens when I make a comment like this. People come after me and say, Blake being biased for LSU. I think it's the best duo in the SEC at bar minimum at corner with Stingley and Elias Ricks. So if McGlothern comes in, that means Elias Ricks or Derek Stingley Jr. are coming out because that kid cannot play the slot whatsoever. Blaine says Flott and Harris struggled. Jones may be a difference maker, though. He could. Look, communication has been key for this team. That's the one thing from safety to linebacker to defensive line that has been impeccable per them that they said was struggling last season. Now, I get that you have COVID, but that communication has been so much better from this season to last. All right, let's do this before we continue to go on. Maybe we'll talk a little baseball, but I love talking football. You guys know that. But before we do that, guys, we got to get over to our good friend, Mr. John Patton, over at Area Home Lending, 225-663-2500. That's 225-663-2500. Go to areahomelending.com. If you're thinking about buying a new home, saving money on the mortgage that you have now, or even doing that cash out refi, the timing has never been better. Get in touch with John from Area Home Lending today, and if you mention AYS, he will send his team out for a free appraisal. That's 225-663-2500. Tell him Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by. And our good friends over at the Drake Law Firm, personal injury, criminal defense, real estate, and successions. There's absolutely nothing that the Drake Law Firm can't do for you today. If you get a DWI, they will be on it. You need to, if and when you get that DWI, you need to give them a call today at 985-386-7600. That's 985-386-7600, because when you get pulled over, they're the first call that needs to happen. Oh, there we are. I was looking at how we can get on. Hollingsworth says, my least favorite part of the show. Hashtag your lanky lender. Are you talking about the hey man, we can talk now. I mean, look, my man, I know what you're talking about, but look, man, we got to pay bills around this sucker. All right? Come talk to her, brother. D-Boot Miller says, hashtag ask Blake, I like Brennan, but would TJ or Max threat of running open the running game? Absolutely. Absolutely, D-Boot. And let's just call a spade a spade. That's 100% the reason why Max Johnson is getting first-team reps. The biggest reason. Now, I'm not saying that because what does Max Johnson do better throwing the football than Miles Brennan? Let's be realistic. Does he have a bigger arm? No. Is he more accurate? Maybe a little, if at all, but Miles Brennan showed that he can be accurate. Let's put in the games that he played. The simple fact that Max Johnson can move around with his feet and improvise and make the throws that need to be made on the run is why Max Johnson is starting. Period. There's like everybody's trying to think of that, well, Max does this better in the passing game than Miles Brennan. No, he doesn't. The difference is that, yes, he's accurate and he can move. Hey, you want to send six and you can't get to the quarterback and you want to play man-to-man coverage, he's going to beat you with his legs. Miles Brennan's not going to do that. And look, TJ Finley, a lot of people have made fun of, but look, he's more nimble. He's more nimble than Miles Brennan. And I know that's not saying a lot, but still. Tasha Tippett says, how come y'all don't have the Facebook stars option so we can support your show? I don't know. Let me see. Tasha, I don't know. I'll have to check into that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. We've been so focused with the YouTube channel and promoting our YouTube channel. I guess I kind of neglected a little bit of the of Facebook, but I appreciate that. Maybe we've got to get monetized. So everybody let your friends. Look, everybody go subscribe to YouTube. Go do it, please. If you hadn't done something already, go tell everybody and your mama and them and everybody in your family. Go subscribe to Are You Serious Sports on YouTube. And let's see. Peggy says, Tasha, you can share bottom left. I'm not sure. Let's see. Gino says, if I don't have to worry about the run, it's not quite an RPO. Well, it's not really what the RPO is about. The running, it's literally, hey, do I hand the ball off to the running back, or do I hit the quick slant, the in route, the out route? What am I doing? It's literally a running back thing. Yes, the quarterback can pull it and run too. I know what you're saying, but yes, if you want to run the RPO, that you want to have a quarterback that can move. Miles can't. Miles can't move, y'all. I love him to death. Everybody thinks that I hate Miles Brennan. That's not the truth. It's simply not the truth. Come on. Blaine Smith says Garrett Nussmeier is the best athlete in the quarterback room. Blaine, listen, I ain't trying to be rude here. You don't know that. Look, we can pop in that high school film, and I get what you're saying because this high school film is ridiculous. Man, you do realize what Max Johnson did. Listen now, Max Johnson did some crazy shit against Florida and did some crazy shit against Ole Miss now. Come on. We're talking about high school football to what this kid did in the SEC to the SEC East champion. All right. Look, man, people sleeping on Max. How I have no idea. All right. Max going to come up in there in the SEC and do this. Bad baby, bad baby. He's going to start spanking some fools now. Guys, midway through the third quarter, people were tired of hitting Max Johnson when he was running the football. They didn't want to hit that tank. All right. Hollingsworth says, LMAO, I'm messing with you, but we do need to talk. Yeah, we do need to talk. What's that song? Hit me with that hotline bling. That can only mean one thing, or you can call me on my cell phone. Late night when you need some lending. Oh, shoot. Tasha said she shared it to the group. Thanks, Tasha. I appreciate that. I greatly appreciate that. Blake Schilling says Max for Heisman. Look, Max, people are going to think that I'm all over this dude, but I just don't understand I don't know how you don't play him. I don't know how you don't start him. It's just quite simple. It's quite simple. Did you guys see the mic'd up with Jake Peets? Something that I really liked about that mic'd up thing with Jake Peets was the small technical stuff he was doing with Mac Johnson and TJ Finley. He was kind of, you saw him more kind of coaching the younger guys than the old man in the room and Miles Brennan. But he was getting after TJ and he was getting – and look, everybody's poo-pooing on TJ Finley now. You better be careful. Look, TJ Finley did not have the coaching at Ponchatoula than Miles Brennan did at St. Stanislaus or Max Johnson did with his dad, who's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. If we want to talk about the truth now, if we want to talk about raw talent, TJ's got some serious talent. Everybody's going to remember what he did against Auburn. Everyone's going to remember what he did against Alabama. But at the end of the day, at the very, very, very end of the day, TJ Finley is a comparable quarterback. You're talking about a true freshman during COVID-19 that honestly just wasn't ready yet. There's nothing wrong. Here's what bugs me the most sometimes, guys, is that, oh, my God, TJ Finley, he just couldn't do it as a freshman. Guys, neither could Joe Burrow. It took him 5 seasons to do it. Joe Burrow was a 5-year senior who won the Heisman. Baker Mayfield was a 5-year senior that won a Heisman. Kyler Murray was in his 4th season. Who else won the Heisman? Devontae Smith was in his 4th season. So I know that one of those guys isn't a quarterback, but still. I mean, we're talking about guys that well, we see true freshmen come in like a Trevor Lawrence and win a Heisman. So what? Or win a national championship. So what? Trevor Lawrence didn't do it again, y'all. Trevor Lawrence didn't win another natty. And quite honestly, I think that team and Clemson put him on his back, and they were carried by that defense. They weren't carried by Trevor Lawrence. We got to stop putting so much pressure on young freshman quarterbacks. We put it on TJ. We put it on Max. That's why I put so much pressure on Miles Brennan. Hey, man, you've been here since the Barack Obama administration. My man's been at LSU since Barack's been in office. Like, that's why I get on Miles a little bit more than I get on Max and TJ. Like, let's pick this up a little bit. But when we're talking about freshmen, especially freshman quarterbacks, like, come on, man. Come on. Stephen Miller says that lanky Linda loves talking baseball, though. Brandon Hollingsworth does not like talking baseball at all. Chad Carr says, how long do you think Paul is going to last? I think he's going to last. Guys, you lost the series 2-3 to the number 2 team in the country. Opening weekend. Baseball's different than football now. Just let it play out a little bit longer. He by 16 on Periscope says, speaking of Elias Ricks, there was a lot of rumors of him transferring. Any truth to that? I think there was a little something out there, but he's not leaving. He's not leaving LSU. I think he was fed up, but then Darante Jones came in and said, hey, man, you want to go to Rudy Poo University? Go to Rudy Poo University. This is LSU. Look, a lot of people also talking about poo-pooed on somebody. A lot of people poo-pooed on Darante Jones when he came in. He's knocking the ball out of the park when it comes to recruiting. Stephen Miller says, hashtag ask Blake, what position do you see best playing H-back or some tight end stuff? Yeah, I can see him doing that. And that's the kind of kid that you love to have on your team, a guy that's going to want to punch you in the mouth. Did y'all see that kid's basketball highlights? He's dunking on dudes. He's blocking shots and like, get out of here. That kid's going to be tough to keep off the field now. And you know another but here's the question I would have, Steven, on Jack Best. A lot of people say put him at tight end, H-back. Can the kid block? He never blocked a defensive end like he's going to see in the SEC. Never. I don't think people fully also understand, too, it's not every day that a kid in high school sees a defensive end or defensive tackle, 6'3", 300 pounds, that's going to play in the SEC. That doesn't happen in Louisiana. That kid ain't seen the beast and the mammoths that the SEC has produced. He's going to find out quick, though. But he's going to be fine. I put him in like an H-back, split off the line. I mean, his body style, body weight, height is going to remind me a lot of Thaddeus Smalls. He'll be a faster Thaddeus Smalls. And he can play wide receiver. We don't know. Bundy says Max and Garrett should have the better offensive IQ. Max and Garrett, Nussmeier should have a better IQ than Brennan and TJ considering their pedigree. I guess you could say that. Country 2529 on Periscope says that ass Blake. That mic'd up thing was great to see. Yeah, it was good. It was good, man. I liked it with Jake Peets. Look, I've been riding on Jake Peets a lot, but it's gonna be fun to watch. Stephen Miller says he wasn't ready. No. Yeah, look, that's a great comparison. Cam Newton. I mean, guys, it took Cam Newton a while to get going. It takes quarterbacks a while to get going. It's not every day you see a true. Your boy from Georgia, Jake from State Farm. He brought Georgia to the national championship. Well, let me tell you something about them Georgia Bulldogs. Jake Fromm couldn't throw a pass from here to that post over there. Jake Fromm got his ass beat. Jacob Cole says the Obama administration. He's been there since the Obama administration. Man, guys, Miles Brennan has been in LSU for a long-ass time. It's time to get. It's literally put up or shut up time right now. Literally. Darren says now that's some funny stuff since the Obama administration. I mean, it's true. Mark on YouTube says, I think Miles starts and they will have a special package for Max and definitely put him at the goal line. Look, Mark, you could be right, but there's no reason right now why Miles Brennan should start. I get what's going to happen. Miles might look better in practice, but again, I'm not trying to poo-poo. Why should Miles Brennan start? Tell me. Because if you come at me with some stats and his record's 1-2 and he did it against Mississippi State, this is not the place for that. Again, Mark, you know I love you. You know I love you. Stop with the stats. Stop with the stats on Miles Brennan. 0 of 10 against Missouri, not good. I guess you could say, well, he did good at Vanderbilt. Well, he threw for a lot of yards on Mississippi State. If you drop back 60 times, guys, Miles Brennan dropped back the pass 60 times. 60. He better throw the ball for 400 yards. He better. Holden Lee says, ask Blake, I wonder whose Bama starting quarterback will be. Probably Bryce Young. We were going to talk go a little bit around the SEC. We can start with Bama. Look, Bama's got a lot to replace. They had their pro day today. They got literally 21 guys that had starts that they have to replace. 21. You know who had that in 2019? LSU. Now, Alabama is not going to be LSU. They're not going to fall off like LSU did with Nick Saban. I love everybody in here. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Blake Doucette says, hashtag ask Blake, talking baseball. What do you think about this weekend being LSU lost a midweek game? I like that they lost a midweek game. If you remember, Blake, and we talked about this, I think it was your question. We talked about Cade Beloso and Jordan Thompson, the shortstop, did exactly what I asked him to do or what I thought that these guys should do. Instead of trying to pull the ball every single time, if they're going to pitch you on the middle third out, you need to start taking the ball the other way. So if the ball's on the outside, go where the ball takes you, stay late, stay on the ball, hit the ball outside. Jordan Thompson blew that game wide open on Sunday, and the LSU Tigers were going to win. Cade Beloso, now Paul Maneri talked a lot about Cade Beloso saying we're trying to fix his swing. Well, you better. That levels, look, you got to start trying to pull everything. Take the ball the opposite way. If they want to throw you on the outside corner of the plate, take the ball the opposite way. I think that this helps them. I really do. I'm glad they're not playing Tulane. I know that Tulane backed out, but this is just as good for LSU than anybody. They need to regroup. They have to regroup. Dee Miller says, hey, Blake, people don't realize last year we had drama and a lot of new starters on defense who never had a spring or good coaching. You get a like for that comment. Where's D-Boot Millers? D-Boot, I can't find your comment on Facebook. Let me see. There it is. Boom, shakalaka. Guys, they didn't have a spring. They didn't have an offseason. You're replacing 22 starters from 2019. You didn't have an offseason. You sucked. Carla Cat says, Blank went all Obama on him. Look, I'm just saying, man, Miles Brennan been here since the Obama administration. Ray Nagin was still the mayor of New Orleans when Miles Brennan was a freshman. Oh, God. I couldn't help myself, y'all. I couldn't help myself. Oh, Jesus. And Gino Vegas says, I've seen enough from Miles to the second. Yeah, I agree. Kenny says, Rohan Davies spoke highly of Jake Peets on Lady Moscona's show. It's a good characteristic of Matt Moscona. But he should. Look, Jake Peets was brought in by Nick Saban twice. If you're brought in by Nick Saban to come into his coaching staff twice, that means you know what the hell you're doing. All right, let's get a couple more comments and we'll get out of here. Blake Schilling says, hashtag Ask Blake, I saw something about Coach Jones recruiting today. What's the 411 on that? I'll repeat it. I know that we talked about this earlier. And everybody said, Blake, who's the new recruit? I didn't say we got a recruit. I never said somebody committed. Just talked to a couple recruits. They said they spoke so highly of Coach Jones, what he's doing for the defensive side of the football, not just DBs or safeties. He's talked to linebackers. He's talked to defensive linemen. He's really started to recruit hard. And look, a guy who's been a high school coach in the state of Louisiana knows how big and can connect with kids because he's literally been in that high school locker room. There you go. Reese Williams on Facebook says, but you are poo-poo in though. Make it make sense. Don't know what that means. Let's see. Mac Washington says, who did Miles Brennan lose his starting job to? ? He didn't lose his job, so why isn't he the starter? Look, I don't care what anybody says. That man lost his job. When you get hurt and you're not there, you lost your job. There's a reason why Miles Brennan isn't taking first-team reps. He's lost his job. Everybody's, there's this old saying in sports, you can't lose your job to injury. Yes, the hell you can. Yes, the hell you can. Ask Drew Bledsoe what happens when he got hurt. Tom Brady at that time, and people are going to call me crazy about this one, Tom Brady at that time was not better than Drew Bledsoe. He was carried by a running game with Kevin Falk and the boys and a very deep defense. Very talented defense. Did you know, I saw a stat today that Tom Brady, without a top 10 defense in the NFL, if he doesn't have a top 10 defense, his winning percentage is 26%, where Drew Brees' is 80%. He's always, every year he's had top 10 defenses. So you always can lose your position to injury. And again, if people want to come to me with stats on Miles Brennan and what he did against Mississippi State, I will ask you to go look at third down. I will ask you to go look at SEC StatCat when that kid literally had more time in the pocket per SEC StatCat than any other quarterback in the SEC. Yes, even more than Mac Jones, maybe because Mac Jones is throwing the ball a little bit quicker than Miles Brennan, but he had protection. Miles Brennan was number 1 through 3 weeks in pass protection, time in the pocket. Tells you something. All right, let's get to 2 more. Kenny says, Will Wade talked about mixing a couple transfers with younger players next season. Good idea. Yeah, I agree with that. D-Boot says, LSU only fell off so bad is because of the pandemic, but Bama in that same situation, I think that they may take some losses. They may, but look, you don't ever count out as much as I hate to say it. I'm never going to say this aloud on a Bama or to Bama fans. As much as I don't want to say it, you can never count them out. Their worst season in the last 8 years is 11-2. So Quinn on Facebook Live says that's unfair because Brennan had no run game and we were in it still. TJ got absolutely slaughtered when his run game went bye-bye. What are you talking? I mean, I get what you're saying, but if you're going to give me stats, if you're going to give me running game, quite honestly, let's go look at Mississippi State. I don't even have to look at the stats. I'm not even looking at it. I'm not even touching it. I guarantee you Chris Curry had 5 yards per carry. Against Vanderbilt, I guarantee you that John Emery had 5 yards per carry. I'm not touching anything, so let's go look at it. Someone stat check me right now. I guarantee you Ty Davis Price had 5 yards a carry against Missouri. I guarantee that. Go look it up. And running game, look, you can't complete a pass on third down. You're not going to get a lot going. I do agree with you, Quinn, on this, though. The running game was insufficient at times. But so was it for TJ, and so was it for Max. Guys, the running game was, hey, quite honestly, Josh Williams was the running back in the second half against Ole Miss. Ole Miss, are you going to say Ole Miss isn't better than Mississippi State? Because they beat Ole Miss. I mean, they beat Mississippi State. You're going to tell me that Florida wasn't better than any team in the SEC East? They were. Didn't seem to affect Max too much, and that's the point because he can move with his feet. I get what you're saying, though, Quinn. All right. Blake says, ask Drew Bledsoe. Yeah, you can lose your Gino says Miles is as old as Hunter Renfro. Yeah, Hunter Renfro was there from the Ronald Reagan administration. That's how old that son of a gun is. Okay, guys, we will get out of here. We will see you tomorrow. We might try to guess it up. I'm trying to get a couple of former LSU players to come on. Zach Pearson, though, should be coming on with us in his normal slot that he's moved to on Wednesdays. But until then, guys, we will see you soon. You'll have a good night. Peace out.